Thanks, Andreas, for letting me try to buy these fins, give them a shot out, and purchase them if they're good mats. It's really cool, and I will definitely take good care of them as I test. Today, I'm going to be comparing slalom fins. And the three groups are the stock fins that came with the board, random fins, may be good, but they're not really designed for the boards I have, and some other fins. And these are Andreas' fins, which are carbon and then G10 custom matched for slalom windsurfing, and they've been rated by many to be very fast, good fins. So today I'm going to do measurements as far as flex. I'm going to measure the cord, the thickness, the length, the thickness of the tip, and also measure the distance on how far forward the widest part is. On a fin, if the wider part is further forward, it has more power and a little bit more hold, which this fin does. If the wider part is a little back, it has a little bit more speed, but not as much power low end and as hold. I found with my 8.6 tune for max power, so peak gust at 16 miles an hour was definitely not overpowered on the sail. This 48 centimeter Drake fin had better hold while slogging, better pop to flight, more extreme fierce acceleration, and a faster top speed of 28.8. On a different day, but same conditions, sail tuned the exact same way, this 44 centimeter Drake, which is stiffer, the widest part is a little further back, it had a max speed of 27.5 miles per hour, so less than a mile an hour slower, plus slogging, pop to flight, acceleration, all weren't as good. But I was surprised that when I was at max speed and the fin was holding, this is a little faster because it fully powered up the fin better, it flew the board better, everything about it. So definitely max speed to go smaller, even if you're tracking straight, is not the way to go. And I also suspect with this 44 centimeter Drake, with the same 8.6 tuned to normal downhaul, which is cog, or maybe a little bit more downhaul, and maybe the boom at the lower clue position with the RDM camber cups rather than SDM camber cups, even with the 8.6, with maybe 18 to 20 miles an hour, with it set to more of the appropriate range, this actually may start to be faster because this might have too much lift at that wind speed. So even the same equipment with more wind speed, this might start to do better. But at the 10 to peak gust 16 miles an hour, this is definitely overall way better than that. So hopefully 46 will be overall better than either of these fins. And I've tried these, and for that medium to light wind slalom 8.6, this is my favorite so far. So hopefully this will be the winner. Maybe even this, the 49, but the 46 vector volt maybe overall nicer. So my hope today is to find with measurements, I'm hoping the measurements will go on par with what I feel on the water. This will take a little bit of time and it's more fun to try on the water, but my hope is that knowing what the measurements of a fin are and the material, like for example G10, you need a little bit bigger of a fin to have the same hold as a carbon because they're a little stiffer. You know, maybe I'll be able to find out if a fin is going to be kind of what I'm looking for without having to test it out for multiple days. So yeah, let's get to it. For my measuring system, I have a couple of sawhorses, a board with a bunch of weight on it, 2 clamps, and the fin on the end with a with a bait clamp and a microfiber towel loaded up. With this, I'm going to measure the very bottom end of the clip with the height from the ground and then weight it and see the difference. I'm going to do 5 pounds and 10 pounds just to see how the flex variations. Anyway, I'll find that out. On the 70 centimeter select is 77.6 centimeters from the bottom. 77.6. Okay. Now with the 5 pound weight, I'm going to make sure this weight is at the same point each time. I want to get a good accurate difference here. With the 5 pound weight, we have 75.5 centimeters. I will swap out for the 10 pound weight. Make sure it's in the same spot. 73.5 centimeters. For the 70 centimeter select stiff, it is 2.1 centimeters difference for 5 pounds and 4.1 centimeters difference for 10 pounds. So I will continue on for all of these. Okay, I got all the data in. One thing to make a note of is the 30 centimeters Tectonics G10. It's only 0.6 centimeters with 5 pounds and then 1.9. So the initial is quite stiff, but then it starts to loosen up. As we go up, I noticed that the Vector Volt is just a tiny bit stiffer than the Vector Canefire. Go up here, the Vector Canefire is a little bit stiffer than the Drake. and the Drake is a little softer than Vector Volt, the 46 centimeters, but then the Drake is a little stiffer than the Volt, so they kind of go soft, a little stiffer, which is good. My Select is the same stiffness as Drake, but it gets much softer with more weight, so that is a big difference. 3.1 to 2.6, that's an even draw, but the Select gets a lot softer as more weight. So interesting how the flex response changes per fins. They're not all the same. Let's see, what else? The 40 centimeter Vector Volt Carbon, 0.8, quite stiff, and then 1.8, so a little over than double for the Carbon, but then just happens to have a Vector in also G10, same length. Look at it, it's almost double as soft. Here it is double, there it's almost double as soft. So it's quite a bit softer. So we can give theoretically more lift. G10 doesn't get as much spring, so it might be a little bit more comfortable compared to Carbon, but this would be maybe a higher wind version. It won't hold as much power because it's softer, but it may give more lift also. But I've heard G10, it's totally cool to go G10 as you get higher wind. Actually, it's a little bit more comfy, but I can see how these, like for example, the 34 centimeter Vector Volt G10 is 0.9 centimeters flex at 5 and then 1.8, so double. So that's an even double right there. But that's like, yeah, if that was in Carbon, that'd be so stiff. That would be probably way too stiff. You need a little bit more give for the comfort over the chop. So yeah, makes sense on that. And I would assume if all the other specs are the same, length, cord, thickness, it would be probably twice as stiff for everything else for full Carbon, and that might be really tough on the chop. So yeah, it's good information. Moving on to the other measurements here. Just taking measurements with the caliper now. This Tectonics G10 30 centimeter is 10.23 centimeters. Just picking measurements like that, done a few already. Through all these measurements, I found some interesting comparisons. Andres, he has a 34 centimeter Vector Volt and a 34 centimeter Vector Canefire, both in G10. This is a great example of how to compare them. For example, the draft profile is 2.56 forward and 2.49, so the Volt is further back compared to the Canefire, and same up to here. The Canefire is 2.54 and the Volt is 2.48. So the draft profile, or the hydrofoil, is further forward in the Canefire versus the Volt. Also, the Canefire does not have as long of a cord at 10.73 compared to 11.66, and down here, these are the Carbons, they're not the exact same size, 49 compared to 46, but here they are the same size. The Vector Volt at 34 centimeters is 11.22 centimeters compared to the Canefire of 9.77. Also, the Canefire is not as thick at the tip, just a little bit thinner, but they're very close. Basically speaking, the Vector is a little higher aspect ratio. Another interesting comparison is the Drake 48 centimeter compared to the Canefire and the Volt is I have a 2.85 draft profile, so far forward compared to 2.48 and 2.54. So, and let's see, mine is softer also, so it's softer. It has similar measurements as far as the cord and the thickness. Just the Drake is softer and the draft profile is more far forward, which makes it has a very powerful, grunty, fast feel. Now my Sailworks NXs, they are a very powerful sail. The draft profile is very far forward and there's a ton of power down low, which makes pull like a tractor is kind of a quote I've heard, and I agree with that. They have a lot of power, and the Drake also has a lot of power, and it's just the softness and the lift and everything. I'm curious if a Vector Volt would work better because it's a faster fin in general for the specs wise. I haven't tried it on the water, of course, but specs show me that it's going to be a faster, less powerful fin. I'm curious if my Sailworks NXs will not work well because it won't have enough power to hold that truck power, or if maybe my powerful sail and my powerful Drake fin may have too much power overall, and one of them being a little bit less powerful might get it to be a lot faster. I do know a lot of people with NXs use the Vector and the Vector Volt, so I don't think there'll be any complications with this. My Drake is 2.62, so that's closer, but it's still a little bit further forward draft profile, and cord, the thickness are similar, so not a big difference. Thickness is about the same at the tip. And already confirmed, my 70 centimeter Select is 4.1 centimeters give at 10 pounds, and my Drake 7 centimeter soft is 5.9 centimeters, so it's definitely much softer. It feels feels much softer on the water, and it has different design aspects. Like the 70 centimeter Select Stiff is better for slogging and better for max speed, and actually a little bit better just get onto plane, a little bit more hold and power to get onto plane. But once I've got to the plane, the Drake stays on plane better and has a better mid-range, but it's not as fast and it's not as good for slog. So it really depends on what I'm looking for. If I'm slogging, well, obviously I'm probably being a longboard, but the stiff is better for that. And if it's more light wind, kind of mid-range, the soft is going to be better than the stiff. I have a lot of experience with formula going back and forth between those two fins. So if I have a softer fin, for example, the Drake is softer, then the Vector may be a little bit better holding, and the Drake may have better mid-range, but the Vector may have a little bit better high-end. And with a 2.48, so the draft profile is further back compared to the Drake further forward. Here we go, further forward and further back. I'm not sure if I'm doing that right. There we go. Kind of like that. So it may actually really, I can see how it should be a faster fin, aside from so many other variables of that design, of flex, and all the advanced building techniques to make a fin great. But just these base dynamics would be good to know. Also, because my 44 centimeter Drake has a 2.62, and it's definitely more prevalent to spin out, knowing that the volt is 2.48, it could be even more likely that I have to be very careful on back foot pressure until I get up to speed. It could be a complication with kind of the 3B or the affordable or the ones that came with the fin originally 2010. These are newer fins, so they could have completely made that not a big deal as far as for spin out once you're on plane. But these numbers would kind of tell me that I should be a little bit more cautious. And also because the Drakes have draft more forward, further forward, they might be a little bit more fun and punchy in gusty weather, where the Volts may need more consistent wind to slowly and confidently accelerate rather than just take a jolt of wind. At Green Lake, there's very big jolts of wind and there's nothing, so you kind of enjoy the extreme thrust, fast acceleration, but it could be just for 50 feet, 50 foot gust or a 200 foot gust. It could be the whole length of Green Lake, but likely it's going to be short. So I don't know. Also, it could be location. Maybe the Volts possibly are better at locations where you have consistent high wind. I've heard that if you're doing speed sailing, you need consistent wind. And if I'm going for speed, which is the main variable here, I want to go fast. These fins could be a little bit more challenging to go fast, opposing to the Drake, which are a little bit more powerful in general for the draft profile. Another interesting thing is the Drake 70 centimeter soft, so it's a powerful fin. It has a draft profile of 3.03, and it makes sense that this is a powerful fin because the further forward it is compared to the actual length of the fin, so chord and then max thickness, how far forward on the chord it is, gives the power of it. Just another thought, Drake versus Vector showdown for my NX sails, but just in case if I'm not overly satisfied with it, I believe my Phantom Iris prototype sails, I have a 9.4, 8.2, and 7.2, they are noticeably faster and more pitch stable when foiling, and I believe even though the NX is way more user-friendly and just more fun for slalom windsurfing versus my Iris sails are heavier and just a little bit more awkward for rotation, but I think the Iris will be a faster sail. So if I find the Vector is faster but not as grunty, the actual shape and design of my Iris sails may make a better pairing to the Vector fin versus my NX sails, which are more grunty, and the Drake fins potentially could be more grunty also. But we'll have to see. These are my predictions. Let me know if there's anything else that you see that doesn't make sense, or if you see, oh wow, if you appreciate this data as far as what works out well. But hopefully I'll be able to take these numbers and see what I see, and hopefully future fins I can take some quick measurements. I might take a few moments to check the flex. I would like a fin or not based on these variables, so I wouldn't have to test something for days. But yeah, tell me what you thought about this video. Like, subscribe, and share. And this is measurements round 1. I hope to do another video after at least fully tested out the 46 volt and the 49 cane fire. Probably after I get these two tested, I'll do another video and see what I see what the speed is, see what the comfort is. If speed is like 0.5 to 1 mile an hour faster, but it's not as much fun, that's the information I want to know. If the Drake is fun at about 17 miles an hour, 18 miles an hour, it's fun. And then 18 miles an hour or under, or 17 under, the Drake 48 is fun. I really enjoy it. So I don't really need more fins. I'm just trying to improve the slalom and see where I can take it as foiling develops. And yeah. Anyway, yeah, like, subscribe, and share, and have a great day.